My name is Viola Whitmore. I'm 31 years old, and I can tell you the exact minute my relationship ended. It wasn't during a fight. It wasn't after some dramatic betrayal. It was at 2:18 p.m. on a Thursday while I was sitting in a meeting about quarterly projections. That's when my phone buzzed with a message from my boyfriend Evan Ross, age 28. Your mother is toxic. I've blocked her number. She's dead to me now. I remember blinking twice, certain I'd read it wrong. Dead to him. My mother. The same woman who welcomed him into her home every Sunday, who cooked for him, who smiled even when he barely said thank you. My colleagues' voices blurred into a dull hum. The numbers on the presentation slide meant nothing. All I could see was that message glowing on my screen. For a few seconds, I didn't move. I just stared at it, feeling the room tilt. Then slowly, I locked my phone, pushed my chair back, and excused myself. Sorry, I need a moment. In the hallway, the reality hit. Evan had actually cut my mother off. No argument with me, no discussion, just execution. And for what? The answer came almost instantly, like a cruel replay. Flashback Sunday dinner. My mother had made her classic rosemary chicken and roasted potatoes. Evan was at the table, as he always was, 4 nights a week, actually, since he'd practically moved into my apartment without ever saying the words. Mom poured him more iced tea, then said lightly, Evan, dear, since you've been staying over so often, would you mind chipping in a little, maybe $50 a month for groceries? You eat like a linebacker, and I'd rather not have Viola carry the full load. She smiled, gentle teasing. Evan froze mid-bite. Are you serious? Mom laughed. Of course, only if it's fair to you. I just thought. He slammed his fork down. That's incredibly rude. Rude Mom blinked. You're implying I'm freeloading. I'm not implying anything. I'm asking for help. He pushed his chair back. This is ridiculous. I'm your daughter's boyfriend, not your tenant. The silence afterward was painful. I remember staring at him stunned. Mom's face fell. Evan. I didn't mean to offend you. Forget it, he snapped, grabbing his jacket. Dinner was great. I'm leaving. The door shut hard enough to rattle the windows. Mom had sighed, her voice trembling. I really thought he'd grown up. I smoothed it over, later told her he just misunderstood. Apologized for the drama. Thought it was done. Apparently it wasn't. Back in the present, I opened my phone again. The message still sat there like poison. Your mother is toxic. I've blocked her number. She's dead to me now. Dead to him. Over $50. I typed one word back. Done. He replied almost immediately. Done. You mean you agree? Because your mom was way out of line asking me for money, like I'm some freeloader. I didn't respond. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, then dropped. Silence would speak louder. Instead, I opened another app. My insurance company. Hi, I said when the operator picked up. I need to remove an authorized driver from my policy. Effective immediately. She asked for the vehicle, a 2021 Honda Civic. Reason. We broke up. The car is in my name. He's no longer authorized to drive it. Understood, she said. That takes effect at midnight tonight. Perfect. Next, call my friend Maya, who runs a small towing service. Hey, Viola, she said. What's up? Maya. I need a favor. There's a car parked at my place. My car. I want it picked up tomorrow morning around 6. Okay, sure. Why X trouble? Something like that. She chuckled. Send me the key and the location. I'll handle it. When I hung up, I stared around my apartment. It looked strange, too quiet, too neat. Evan's things were scattered everywhere, his sneakers by the couch, his overpriced skincare on the bathroom counter, his half-read book on the nightstand. I went to the closet, grabbed a stack of boxes, and started packing. Shirts, jeans, cologne, his gaming console. Every trace of him vanished into cardboard. When I reached the last drawer, I hesitated. There, folded neatly, was the birthday card I'd given him the day I bought that Civic, a car I'd paid for, entirely down to the insurance and registration. He'd cried when I handed him the keys. Said I was the best thing that ever happened to him. Apparently gratitude has a short shelf life. I placed the card in the box and taped it shut. By the time he stumbled in at 9:30 p.m., slightly drunk and full of smug confidence, the boxes were stacked by the door. Hey, babe, he slurred. My friends totally validated me tonight. They said you need to set boundaries with her. He stopped when he saw the boxes. What's this? Your stuff, I said flatly. He laughed. You're leaving. That's cute. No, you are. His face changed. Are you serious? Dead serious. Over one argument. This isn't one argument, Evan. You blocked my mother. You called her toxic. You said she was dead to you. She was being controlling. She was being reasonable. You've been living here half the week, eating every meal I pay for. She asked you to contribute, and you exploded. I'm your boyfriend. I shouldn't have to pay to eat at my girlfriend's place. Ex-boyfriend, I corrected. And you're right, you don't have to pay anymore because you're not eating here anymore. His jaw tightened. You can't just dump me over this. Already did. I drove here, Viola. I've been drinking. What am I supposed to do? Call an Uber. Your things will be here tomorrow when you're sober. This is insane. We've been together for 2 years. And in 2 years, I said quietly, you managed to convince yourself that the woman who raised me with kindness is the enemy. That tells me everything. He pointed at me, trembling. You're really choosing your mommy over me. Every single time. He stared at me for a long moment, then grabbed his purse, his messenger bag, and stormed toward the door. You're going to regret this, he hissed. Maybe I said softly, but not tonight. He slammed the door so hard that the frame rattled. For a long moment, I stood there listening to the silence that followed. Then I exhaled, grabbed a cold beer from the fridge, and sat down. For the first time in months, my apartment felt peaceful. When my phone buzzed at 6:43 a.m. the next morning, it was a message from Maya, a photo, the Civic loaded on her flatbed. Got it, easy pickup. I smiled faintly, the calm before the storm. By 8:27 a.m., my phone lit up again, this time in all caps. Where the hell is my car? Did you steal my car? I'm calling the police. I sipped my coffee, waited until 900, then replied, not your car, mine. Title's in my name. You're no longer authorized to drive it. It's been recovered. His response came instantly. You can't do that. I can, and did. I need that car for work. Should have thought of that before calling my mother toxic. You're insane. No, I wrote, I'm thorough. There's a difference. Then I blocked his number. The silence that followed felt better than any apology ever could. The next morning, sunlight streamed across my kitchen table, glinting off the rim of my coffee mug. My phone was silent. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't wake up to a good morning, beautiful text. It was blissful, at least for the first hour. By 10 o'clock, my peace shattered. When my mother called, her voice tense, stole her son's car. I closed my eyes. Let me guess. Evan's mother. She was shouting Viola, saying you ruined his life. She said you threw him out, took his car. It's my car, Mom. I bought it. He was just driving it. A pause. He told me you broke up because of me. I took a deep breath, keeping my tone calm. You didn't do anything wrong. You asked a grown man to contribute to the groceries he was eating. If he can't handle that, that's on him. There was a silence, then Mom sighed. You didn't have to end things over me. Yes, I did. If he can disrespect you, he can disrespect me. That's a line I don't let anyone cross. She didn't argue, just said softly, I love you, Viola. I love you too. When we hung up, I noticed 3 missed calls from an unknown number, followed by a new voicemail. I hit play. Viola Whitmore. This is Ellen Ross Evans' mother. What you did is illegal. You cannot just take someone's car. He's paying the insurance. Actually, I muttered I was paying it. The message continued. If you don't return that car today, we'll be contacting the police. Coming in about a stolen vehicle, I explained. It's not stolen. I'm the legal owner. The officer asked for details. I gave him everything, title in my name, VIN number, purchase receipt, insurance proof. He listened carefully. Well, Miss Whitmore, he can't report a vehicle stolen if you own it. We'll close that out. Thank you, officer. Good day, ma'am. I hung up and laughed quietly to myself, thorough, not insane. That evening, I poured a glass of wine and sank into the couch. My mind wandered to the early days with Evan, the charming first dates, his ambition, how he used to talk about building a life together. When had it turned into this? Maybe it started small, him. Dismissing my opinions, rolling his eyes when I corrected him, joking that I was married to my mother. I used to laugh it off. Now I saw it for what it was, resentment toward any woman who held him accountable. By Tuesday morning, the universe delivered poetic justice. Maya texted first. You're not going to believe this. Your ex just got arrested. My jaw dropped. Arrested. For what I typed. Driving without insurance. What car was he driving? His sister's. But since you removed him from your policy, he wasn't covered. Not even close. I stared at the screen, a mix of disbelief and grim irony washing over me. Evan, who'd mocked my mother for asking for $50, was now sitting in a holding cell over an unpaid insurance policy. Mom called later that day, her voice trembling between anger and pity. Viola, I just heard. That poor boy. I interrupted gently. He's not a poor boy, Mom. He's 28. He made choices. You sound so calm, she said softly. Because I finally learned something from you, I said. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're self-respect. That night, I went for a walk around the block. The air was cool, the city lights hazy through a soft drizzle. Every sound, the distant traffic, the faint hum of life felt louder, freer. I thought about Evan sitting somewhere fuming, telling anyone who'd listen that I'd ruined him. But the truth was simpler. He'd handed me the scissors, and I'd just stopped taping the pieces of him back together. When I got home, there was a new text waiting from an unknown number. "You're heartless. You know that Evan got arrested because of you." I typed back. "He got arrested because he drove illegally. He didn't know he wasn't insured. He's 28. He's not a child. You ruined his life. He did that himself." Then I blocked the number. Again. I set my phone down, exhaled deeply, and smiled faintly. There was something poetic about it all. How peace sometimes only comes after the chaos has screamed itself hoarse. As I drifted to sleep that night, a single thought echoed in my head. I didn't lose anything today. I reclaimed it. 3 days later, the storm arrived. By 9:52 a.m., my phone lit up again. This time it wasn't Evan. It was his best friend calling from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Viola, what the hell is wrong with you?" The voice was sharp, full of righteous anger. "You stole Evan's car. He could have lost his job." I set my coffee down. He didn't lose his job because of me. He lost it because he drove without insurance. "You think this is funny?" "No, I think it's predictable." He cursed under his breath. "You're being vindictive. You dumped him, took his stuff, and ruined his reputation over one argument." "One argument," I repeated softly. "He told me my mother was dead to him. That's not a misunderstanding, it's a character reveal." There was silence on the line, then a click. Call ended. I didn't even bother blocking the number. At 10:15 a.m., my phone rang again. My heart sank when I saw the name Mom. "Viola," she said quietly. "I just got a call from Evan's mother again. She was screaming, said you stole her son's car and threw him out on a long breath. Mom, you taught me to stand up for myself and for you. That's all this is. I know, sweetheart, I just don't like seeing you dragged through this mess. I'll handle it." When we hung up, I noticed a new voicemail from another number. Evan's mother again. I played it on speaker while folding laundry. "You can't just take someone's car. That's theft. You'll be hearing from our lawyer. Evan's been paying for that vehicle for a year." I laughed out loud. "Sure, with what money?" "He's devastated, Viola. He can't eat. He can't sleep." "Try honesty," I muttered. "He can't drive." When she mentioned pressing charges, I decided to call my attorney just in case. It cost me $300 for the consultation, but it was worth every penny. My lawyer, a calm woman named Judith Hall, read through the documents smirking. "This is garbage," she said finally. "You own the car outright. He's not on the title, not on the lease, not on the insurance anymore. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. So they can't sue." "They can, but they'll lose. Want me to respond?" "Yes, please." A week later, Judith sent a letter to their lawyer. "My client, Ms. Whitmore, is the sole legal owner of the vehicle. Your client has no standing. Cease contact immediately or face harassment charges." It was over in a single paragraph, or so I thought. The following Thursday evening, I was brushing my hair when the doorbell buzzed repeatedly, sharp, angry bursts. My stomach dropped. I went to the intercom. "Who is it?" "Open the door, Viola," a woman's voice shrieked. "You owe my son his life back." It was Evan's mother. I could hear shouting behind her, Evan's voice and another male's, probably his brother. My hands trembled, but my voice stayed calm. "Your son's things are boxed up in the hallway. Take them and go." "You ruined his life," she screamed through the speaker. "He has a criminal record now, because of you." "He ruined his own life by driving illegally," I said. "Actions have consequences. You set him up. I removed him from my insurance. That's not a trap. It's accountability." Evan's muffled voice joined in, slurred with anger. "You're unbelievable, Viola. I lost my job. They fired me because I got arrested." "Don't commit crimes, then," I said quietly. "That's usually how people avoid that problem." "You think you're better than everyone," he shouted. "I didn't know I wasn't insured." "That's what we call willful ignorance." "Open this door and face me," his brother barked. "You hide behind your mother, you coward." "I'm not hiding," I replied. "I'm protecting my peace. Take your boxes and leave, or I'm calling security." "You're heartless," Evan's mother yelled. "No, I'm done being a wallet with legs for someone who disrespects my family." I pressed the building intercom button for security. "Hi, there are people harassing me outside my door. Can someone remove them?" Within minutes, I heard heavy footsteps in the hall and muffled arguing. Then silence. Security called back. All handled Ms. Whitmore. They took the boxes and left. "Thank you," I said, voice steady but heart pounding. After they left, I collapsed onto the couch. For a few moments, I just sat there staring at the apartment door. My hands were shaking not from fear, but from adrenaline. The kind that comes when you realize you've just stood up for yourself and no one came to save you. That night I dreamed of silence. No buzzing phones, no shouting voices, just peace. Over the next few days, Evan and his family tried everything. They called from blocked numbers. They left voicemails dripping with accusations. And when that didn't work, they moved to the next phase, public humiliation. By Monday, my business listings were flooded with one-star reviews. Scammer, liar, thief. Each posted under fake profiles. But they'd made a mistake. Every review claimed I had scammed them on home renovations. I work in consulting. It was easy to prove false. I reported each one. Within a week, they were gone. Still, it stung how far people will go to rewrite reality when they can't face their own reflection. That night, I got a message from Maya. Saw the reviews, want me to handle it. I smiled. Already did. You okay? Better than I expected. You don't sound okay. I hesitated. Then, it's weird. I don't feel sad. I just feel relieved. That's what healing feels like, babe. I set my phone down, staring at the city skyline through my window. It was beautiful, silent, distant, untouchable. For the first time, I realized something. Peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's the refusal to participate in it. It didn't stop there. The quieter I stayed, the louder they got. By the second week after the breakup, Evan's entire family had turned their anger into a campaign. The voicemails got longer, the accusations sharper. His friends began tagging me on social media with vague posts. Some people think they're better than everyone else, or karma always circles back. I didn't reply to a single one, but the silence seemed to drive them mad. On Saturday morning, I stepped out of my apartment to grab the mail and froze. Someone had taped a handwritten note to my door. You'll regret this. You ruined a good man's life. The handwriting was messy, almost childlike. My stomach sank. Evan's mother. Again. I took a photo, peeled it off, and dropped it straight into the trash chute. I wasn't scared anymore, just tired. Still, I started locking both deadbolts. And that evening, I got a call from Maya. Hey, not to alarm you, but you might want to check Google again. I sighed. What now? They've made fake LinkedIn profiles using your name, posting garbage about ripping off clients. I already reported one. For a second, I felt my throat tighten, that sinking feeling when people try to drag your entire life into their chaos. But then I steadied myself. Let them, I said finally. Truth survives screenshots. Maya paused. You've gotten stronger. I had to. He underestimated me. We hung up and I sat there on my couch, surrounded by quiet. The TV flickered softly, a reality show I wasn't watching. My eyes drifted to the half-open closet. One of Evan's shirts had been left behind, wedged behind a box. I pulled it out, stared at it for a long time, then dropped it into a garbage bag. Closure one piece of fabric at a time. A few days later, my building security called again. Ms. Whitmore, there's a woman downstairs saying she forgot something in your unit. Let me guess, I said. Short, loud, and self-righteous. A laugh, that's the one. She's lying. She's not a resident. Please remove her. Copy that. After I hung up, I sat at the kitchen table and realized my hands weren't shaking anymore. I wasn't flinching every time my phone rang. The storm outside my walls was still raging, but inside it was calm. 3 days later, it escalated again. Mom called in the middle of the afternoon. Honey, she whispered, Evan's father came by the house. I froze. What? He said he wanted to talk man to man or, well, parent to parent. But when I opened the door, he was furious. He said you were destroying his son. Did he threaten you? No, but he glared. Said you'd ruined a good man's career, that you were heartless. My jaw tightened. You shouldn't have opened the door, Mom. I know, she said softly. He's gone now. But Viola, he looked desperate. He's not desperate for truth. He's desperate for control. I just don't want this to get uglier. It's already ugly, I said. But I'm not backing down. When I hung up, I stared out the window, the city skyline fading into a burnt orange dusk. It was strange how men like Evan and his father turned everything upside down. They could lie, manipulate, and destroy, but the moment a woman said no, suddenly she was the monster. 2 nights later, at 11:47 p.m., I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing relentlessly. I grabbed it from the nightstand. It was a private number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Viola, the voice was low and shaky. It was Evan. I didn't say a word. I just wanted to talk. His breathing was uneven. You ruined everything. You embarrassed me. I can't get a job now because of my record. My sister won't even speak to me. I closed my eyes. Evan, you did that to yourself. I made a mistake, okay? No, you made a choice. He laughed bitterly. You sound just like your mother. Cold. Judgmental. Then maybe that's a compliment. Silence. Then his voice softened. I loved you. I hesitated, my chest tightening despite myself. No, Evan. You loved control. He sighed, and for a brief second I thought I heard regret. but then his tone changed, sharp mocking. You think you're untouchable, Viola. Everyone sees what you did. I'm not untouchable, I said calmly. I'm just done being your victim. I hung up before he could reply. For a long time, I sat there in the dark, the phone still glowing in my palm. The quiet felt like armor. The next morning, I woke to messages from friends. Screenshots. Evan's best friend had organized a peaceful protest outside my apartment complex, complete with signs like, "Justice for Evan and return what you stole." There were 3 people, total. Security escorted them off within 10 minutes. It would have been funny if it hadn't been so pathetic. By the end of that week, something inside me shifted completely. The guilt, the anxiety, the fear, it was all gone. I wasn't scared of being misunderstood anymore, because people who want to misunderstand you will no matter what you say. That Friday night, I took my mother out to dinner, a quiet Italian restaurant she loved. She smiled the whole time, though I could see the worry in her eyes. I just don't understand why he hates me so much, she said quietly. Because you saw through him, I said. You asked him to grow up, and he wasn't ready. She reached across the table and took my hand. You're stronger than I ever was at your age. I smiled faintly. That's because I had you. For the first time in weeks, I went home and slept soundly. No buzzing phones, no nightmares. Just silence, clean, beautiful silence. But peace doesn't last long when people can't handle losing power. Because 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. Thick envelope, expensive paper, and embossed in bold at the top, Ross Family Law Offices. I laughed, set my coffee down, and opened it. Inside that thick envelope were 4 bold claims, written in pompous legal language that almost made me laugh. $24,000 for the stolen car, $5,000 for emotional distress, $3,000 for constructive eviction, a written apology. I read each line twice, then set the papers down. My reflection in the window looked oddly calm, almost amused. I picked up my phone and called Judith Hall, my lawyer. Guess what, Judith? They sent me a masterpiece. She chuckled when I read it aloud. I've seen this kind of nonsense before. Give me 2 days. 2 days later, she sent her reply. My client owns the vehicle. Proof attached. Your client has no standing. Cease contact immediately, or further communication will be considered harassment. It was surgical, efficient, lethal. After that silence, at least from the lawyers. But then on a gray Saturday morning, I heard the pounding again. 3 hard knocks. Then a man's voice. Viola opened the door. It was Evan's father. I didn't move. I stood perfectly still behind the door listening. I'm not here to fight, he said. I just want to talk. I pressed the intercom button. Talk here. He hesitated, then said, My daughter's gone. My wife's crying every night. My son's life is ruined. You could end this. Give him back the car. Give him back a chance. Mr. Ross, I said quietly, I didn't ruin your son's life. He made choices. You raised him to believe consequences don't apply to him. That car was a gift, he snapped. It was a loan, I corrected. If we'd gotten married, maybe it would have been different. But we didn't. And now it's mine. There was a pause, then his tone softened, almost pleading. You're heartless, Viola. He loved you. I closed my eyes. Maybe he did. But he didn't respect me. And without respect, love is just noise. I pressed the intercom again and disconnected the line. His footsteps faded down the hallway. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just felt an odd sort of stillness like the final wave after a storm. Over the next few weeks, the harassment slowly burned out. The fake reviews vanished. The protest fizzled. The calls stopped. Even Evan's mother went quiet. I imagined them all sitting in their house rehashing the story until even they didn't believe it anymore. Then one afternoon, Mom called. Her voice was soft but excited. Sweetheart, are you sitting down? I can be. I just got a call from a blocked number. It was her, Evan's mother. I groaned. Oh God, what did she want? She said you ruined her daughter's her son's life. That he's depressed, broke, and can't find work. She said you're a cruel, cold woman. And what did you say? Mom paused, then her voice firmed. I said, my daughter stood up for herself. If that makes her cruel, I raised her right. Then I hung up. I smiled, blinking back tears. You're perfect. No, she said softly, just proud. A week later, I sold the Civic. My cousin needed a reliable car, and I was ready to let the past go. He gave me $18,000 in cash. That night, I booked a 4-day trip to the mountains, just me and Mom. No phone calls, no noise. The cabin overlooked a silver lake surrounded by pines. We hiked, we laughed. She cooked while I read by the fire. On the last night, we sat outside watching the sunset. The air smelled like pine needles and quiet. Mom turned to me. You know, Viola, when this all started, I thought maybe you were being too harsh. But now, I see you were protecting both of us. I smiled faintly. You taught me that. You always said love isn't blind, it's aware and chooses anyway. He stopped choosing me when he disrespected you. She blinked back tears. You're stronger than I ever was. No, I said softly. You just built me to survive the storm. We sat in silence for a long time. The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sang its last note before dusk. And for the first time in months, my heart felt light. When I got home, I heard through mutual friends that Evan had pleaded guilty to driving uninsured. 40 hours of community service, $1 and $200 in court fees, and a high-risk insurance policy for the next 3 years. He lost his job. His sister stopped speaking to him. His parents were exhausted. And Evan. He was posting vague quotes online. Lost someone who loved me unconditionally. When you love too hard, you get hurt the most. The irony made me laugh. My love had never been unconditional. It was built on mutual respect, and the moment he destroyed that, the foundation crumbled. People sometimes ask if I regret it, if maybe I overreacted. I always say the same thing. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. Evan told me my mother was toxic, that she was dead to him. That wasn't anger, that was who he truly was. And if he could erase my mother that easily, what would stop him from doing the same to me? The car was mine. The choice was mine. The peace that followed, that was mine too. Mom raised me to be many things. A pushover wasn't one of them. So if standing up for her makes me the villain in someone else's story, I can live